one, go, Pam.
Good afternoon. I'm Pamela Ballard Hicks with Sourceseeker Hour. And today we're going to talk about Black wealth and how do we build it, or how do we keep it? How do we sustain it? All that important details. And I want to thank the guest in advance for joining us and giving us a platform, and we can dialogue and talk about it. My name is Pamela Ballard Hicks. I'm a wife, a mother, a teacher, and also I think I'm a well, I don't think, I know I'm a Black activist. I'm for everything Black. I'm rooting for everything Black. In addition to that, I think I made some real great choices when it came to financial literacy in my home. Before we start the program, I want to give credit to Baruti Call Alexander for creating the Sourceseeker Hour, also being the founder and the producer of Brighter Light and Sourceseeker Hour. So thank you, Carl. And before we start,
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Before we start, I'd like for all the guests to introduce yourselves. Give us a little bit about you. Let us know who you are, your name, and just what do you do? And so I see Supreme.
Yes, ma'am. First, I want to just say I'm excited and I appreciate it. It's an honor and a pleasure to grace y'all on y'all platform to even be sought out, because a lot of times, we be doing stuff we thinking nobody's watching, but people are watching, especially when you're doing stuff on social media, regardless if you see it immediately or not. So I just want to say thank y'all, and it's an honor and a pleasure to grace, these beautiful minds of our people about this type of topic. And this definitely is a topic that we should have more about, so I just want to thank y'all for that. And well, I'm the CEO and founder of a global network called Forward Money Network. And our basis is we are partnered with another company out of Switzerland, but our base product is really education. We really strive ourselves on trying to help expose and help get our people to understand the power of leverage, trade and commerce, really doing business. You know what I'm saying? It's, the mom and pop stores that's cool, but that only take you so far. So when we're dealing with this type of scenario, so that's what we thrive on in Forward Money. That's the basis and the reason why we created it. We wanted to help out, and I'm also a active member of the Nation of Islam under the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. What about Dr. I don't want to mispronounce your name, Odili?
You got it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Uzo Odili. I'm a board certified family medicine physician, currently medical director at Apex Urgent Care Clinic, also practicing emergency medicine physician. Been practicing medicine for about 12 years. I'm a father of 4, a husband to a wonderful wife, and I'm also an author. So over the past year or two, I've been focused on writing mostly informational text designed to help us make it, through the health crisis that we're in, but also some books that are uplifting, inspirational in terms of encouraging entrepreneurship and then self-independence financially. So I'm definitely honored to partake in this discussion because definitely as a people, we should be discussing this a lot more than we do.
Okay, thank you so much. And Mr. Hill, can you share, please?
Yes, ma'am. I am Jeffery Hill, CEO of Hill Financial Group, a wealth accumulation firm. I've been in business now, good gosh, about 11 and a half years. Initially started my career under the direction of New York Life. About 6.5 years, I went independent because I just felt like I wanted to focus on building wealth and what I had seen in the marketplace and what was needed, especially in the African-American community. While I was there, I was an ambassador for the $50 billion empowerment plan, which was, we wanted to create $50 billion every 5 years for the African American community through life insurance and financial tools. And a lot of that came through education. So I appreciate, having the affinity to teach people. But now my clients seek me out because of my skill set in helping them build wealth through non-traditional tools. So I do a lot of alternatives to what Wall Street is typically going to show you. One being a focus on how to get out of their debt, including a mortgage in 10 years or less, and how to create wealth that is not tied to the market. So I'm all about keeping Uncle Sam out of my pocket, especially in the retirement years. So absolutely love it. I appreciate being here among these beautiful minds.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And Miss Cassandra, I really can't see your last name, so Miss Barnes.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Barnes. I'm actually a registered nurse. For 32 years, I have a master's in professional counseling, and I am currently employed with United Health Group, which is a major healthcare management firm across the country and overseas. What my primary job is with United Health Group, for lack of a better term, is what my department does is we make sure that we have the money, the financial resources that our physicians need to care for their patients. So our job is to capture dollars from Medicare for our Medicare Advantage plans, and to make sure that the physicians are coding their diagnoses correctly so that we can maximize the return on that. I also came from a family that was very wealthy. My parents were considered multimillionaires. We owned several businesses, and so I've been running business all of my life. I'm preparing to transition from nursing per se into launching my practice as a mental health and wellness counselor. And so that's going to be the next journey that I will be embarking upon. And so again, as everyone else has stated, I am so blessed and pleased to be invited to participate in this conversation on tonight.
Okay, thank you all for sharing. One thing that we have to start in the conversation is, what is Black wealth? And I really want to stress Black wealth. And I know it's built in different entities, but what is Black wealth to you? And can you expound on it, Dr. Odili?
Odili, yes. So in my opinion, Black wealth would be defined as the collective financial stability of the Black community. And that's going to change from city to city or group to group. But wealth is not just money. It's not the bank account. Wealth is the aggregate of what's earned over time, and most importantly, passed on to the next generation. So you can earn millions of dollars over the course of your lifetime, but if you don't pass any of that on to the next generation, then you miss out on the intention of generational wealth. It's to leave the next generation richer than you were, so that you leave them with something to help propel them forward.
Definitely, I definitely agree with that. I wanted to talk to thank you so much. I wanted to talk to the insurance person. It wasn't Mr. Hill, was it? Mr.
Yes,
Hill?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
As far as insurance, insurance has been a thing where a lot of people have gotten rich, or not rich, financially stable based on life insurance. And one thing about the Black community, we absolutely refuse to purchase insurance. And in fact, we thank God for GoFundMe. I mean, it seems like that's the going thing now. How can we convince? And this is a part of wealth. I've seen it. I've seen so many people and non-African American purchase homes and so many boats based on insurance policies that was left. Large insurance policies.
Right. I would say it's not so much about convincing more than it is about educating us. And unfortunately, we haven't seen it utilized enough in our communities to really understand. A lot of times, like I do a presentation called the 10 Myths in the African American Market when it comes to life insurance. And there's a lot of things that we as a race have to undo in terms of our thinking. Our paradigms when it comes to money are way off. Like if I leave money, they're just going to blow it, right? Well, if you equip them with the right knowledge and use the right financial tools to pass the money on, they're the least likely they're going to do it, like a trust. Now, as an attorney, that's their role. They're going to write a trust. I'm going to help fund the trust. The way I have my trust set up, if something happens to me, there are some commas, a couple of commas that are getting passed, but they're not going to be able to blow it. It's going to take them 5 years before they can even get access to all of it. So just like if you started a job, you have a vesting period with your 401k, you have a vesting period before you can take money out. So the first time that something happens, the first year, you get a percentage of that amount of money, right? And then the next year you get another percentage and another percentage. But even with the first dollar that comes out, they have to go out and they have to purchase more life insurance. And it has to be permanent life insurance because term is temporary. I don't want you to only have insurance in there for 5 years and then it goes away, right? And the reason why I set it up that way is because I want to force people to be wealth creators. So when Dr. Odili said he wanted generational wealth, that's speaking my love language. That's one of the things my wife and I says, we want to break generational curses. And part of that is the poverty mindset. And when people understood what you could do with life insurance and how you can transfer wealth to the future, I think you would have more people wanting to do it. But unfortunately, we haven't seen the utilizations of it enough to say it's a high priority. And I saw it firsthand in my own family. We lost my sister back in 2003. She died of a rare lung cancer called sarcoidosis, and there was no life insurance in place. There was no GoFundMe back then. It was you can borrow money from a family member or you can put some cans at a gas station. And I remember listening to my mother have to make those calls to borrow money. And unfortunately, it wasn't until 7 years later till I became an advisor that we actually had that conversation about life insurance in my household. And that was way too long.
It is. And I think it's way, and I see that now. It's very frightening that you see so many people passed on with no insurance.
Mhm.
And the GoFundMe becomes the insurance policy. There's something very wrong with that. So I'm going to go back to Black wealth. I'm sorry, I kind of got off. I wanted to ask you about that because Black wealth, I think insurance is tied into Black wealth and it's been used time and time again. So Miss Cassandra, what is Black wealth to you? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, actually, I want to chime in on the insurance policy. My family actually owned the largest Black owned funeral home in the United States for over 60 years. And so I was firsthand raised to understand wealth, understand the importance of life insurance. And then we also had we owned a funeral home called Carl Barnes Funeral Home. And so we dealt with that my whole entire life.
Yeah.
And we as a community, again, it goes back to education because I was raised in wealth. It's a different scenario for me because I don't understand not understanding wealth because I was always taught about it. But the older that I got, I went to Howard University. Again, you had a lot of very wealthy African Americans at Howard. So the knowledge that we didn't as a culture really understand wealth happened after I graduated with my undergraduate degree. And I began to talk about people. And a lot of things that I thought was just common, I found out was not common. And again, it goes to me personally. Of course, I have quite a bit of life insurance in place. I have stock in place. I have other investment tools in place because I was trained to do that. We have to just begin the conversation amongst our peers and not take for granted that they understand well. I personally, one thing that I despise is the GoFundMe thing to bury people. I mean, as much as I give, and I literally give thousands of dollars away, just giving and blessing people. That's one thing I don't do. I don't pay to bury people. I don't give to bury people because
Really?
to me, no, and it may be because to me, it's just the height of irresponsibility. It's just, even if you had to do a term for 15 years and pay a nominal fee so that you can at least get to a position to transition to whole or whatever, do that. But you will go and you will buy weave, you will weave your hair,
Absolutely.
you will get your nails done, you will get your toes done. And I post all the time on my Facebook page about life insurance policies. Even when I purchase a stock that's doing well, I post it on my Facebook page. I'm not an advisor and I say that, but this is a stock that I just bought, and this is how well it's doing. Even though we as a community don't know about it is so easy to purchase stock. I do mine through TD Ameritrade, which is very inexpensive. It's only $6.95 per transaction. When I first started buying stock, I literally bought one stock at a time. You can take $20 and buy 4 BlackBerry stock that's only $4.80 something cents per share. So while you going to Papa Do's, you can take that $20 and buy some stock. So my thing is no excuse. No, you may not know the totality of how to build financial wealth. It is absolutely no excuse with everybody. Literally, you think about everybody that you know that has died just within this year. You can't even keep up with how many people are dying. It's like you have to think about it. So not to have some level of life insurance in place is the height of irresponsibility to me. I don't care. When I was born, literally, my grandfather purchased life insurance for us when we were born. And so it's no excuse. You may not know everything about it, but you know something about it. You know something. And the point that I was making is when I make posts about wealth on my page, very few people will inbox me to ask me, how do you set up an investment account, an account to purchase stock or whatever it is you want to do just to get started. They don't even inquire.
I think as Black folks, we have learned not to, I'm not saying that we have to unlearn what we've learned. And we have a lot of bad habits. You had mentioned, and we'll talk about poverty mentality. So,
Yeah.
And you talked about the hair, getting the hair done and eating out and, buying certain things, but we'll go over that one in a minute. But I thank you for sharing. So I'm gonna go ahead and get with Mr. Supreme. This is another question I gotta ask you too. Okay, Mr. Supreme, what is your idea of Black wealth?
Well, for one, my idea of what I think it is, the main thing that we have to understand what wealth is. We can't, the Black, that's, but we have to understand what real wealth is. And real wealth is us having land first, right?
Absolutely.
That we govern. Totally different from rental properties. Nothing wrong with that, but that still belongs to the government. Even if we buy a home, the government still has some rights to that property. If given time in a crisis, any type of civil war, they can really just move in on our people and move them out. No different from when we see developing cities when people have property in this neighborhood and they throw them a check, say, hey, look, we got you 75,000 for that rundown house. Either you accept that, but we finna develop over here. You know what I'm saying? So,
Fourth Ward.
Ma'am.
Fourth Ward.
Yes, ma'am. So that there is the first step. And then our unity, us coming together, because truth be told, this is not talking down about life insurance or anything like that. But if we was unified, we wouldn't need it, because the average life insurance, our insurance company, is tied to the central banks that have really robbed the Black community, right? We haven't been given reparations, and they have robbed us. So if we was unified, it wouldn't be no need for it, because our people in Africa, they don't have that. They don't do what we do for us. When somebody die, the community comes together and bury that family. That's what they do. They are a community. So by us being so divided, the enemy was able to create these insurance companies and this stuff here, and to make them more wealthier on the back end. Yes, it helps. Yes, if a person has been a worker, no doubt about it, you should have it. You know what I'm saying? If you don't understand what asset accumulation is, you don't understand what wealth accumulation is, then of course you should have life insurance. Yes, I totally agree. And you shouldn't have to do the GoFundMe. But our unity would pretty much negate all of that. You know what I'm saying? And the next step, I feel like we have to learn about dollars. We have to really learn about what this really is, right? Because this is not money. This is not real money, right? So when we're dealing with real money, we have
What
to
do you mean by
understand,
that?
man,
It's not real money.
it doesn't hold
Explain.
value.
Okay.
So $100,000 today
Yeah.
won't buy you, that's right, fiat currency, won't buy you what $100,000 will buy you next year. You follow me? So it really got an end date to it. And we're seeing all of this happen now. Coronavirus really has pulled the cover off of America's whole ecosystem, right? And it has been fiat currency primarily really since 1913, the creation of the Federal Reserve. So once we understand that and the whole operation and ideal of the Federal Reserve on what they set up, they moved the real money away from the American citizens. Now, we was already at the bottom when they did it, but they did this to poor whites. We was already at the bottom, and they haven't gave us the ability to really repair what had been done to us. But we have to, that's Black wealth to me, understanding that we can't lead this to the next generation. We can't have them with this mindset. We got to know what to do with it before it totally falls. All fiat currencies fall. This is gonna fall totally. But nobody will take it as a medium of exchange. And so we have to tap into what the real money is, what we had, which is pure gold, which is bullion gold. That's what the wars and all of the land grabbing is really about,
Exactly. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with ownership, land ownership. Because with land ownership, then you have them. My husband has property in Crockett, Texas, and they have loan ownership, and they have 87 acres where we had to acquire that had 100% of the mineral rights. And the reason why it had the mineral rights is because it was purchased before, after the Civil War. So that in itself is Black wealth, although it doesn't equate to, like you said, dollars, but it does equate. And one thing about, if you know anything about Crockett, they're not going to give us the privilege of they're going to hold out and not allow that to be drilled on, because they don't want to give this Black people all this money that's underground, and which is gas and oil. So in addition to, they have 80 acres. So, but the whole thing about it, definitely, I believe Black wealth is diversity. I think it's insurance, it's land ownership, it's home ownership, it's businesses, it's all good. And like you said, I understand that what you're saying about money. They even talked about cryptocurrency, which I don't know if anyone can elaborate on.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Oh yeah, I can. Sure.
Doctor was. I'm sorry,
yes,
Mr.
No,
Hill.
Jeff, I can talk about crypto, but no, Supreme X, if you wanted to kind of weigh in on it, I can put my 2 cents in on the back end, whatever you're gonna say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We also involved in cryptocurrency as well. So we're involved in both. We're involved in pure gold, physical gold that we have. and we also involved in cryptocurrency, new blockchain technology and all of that, because we seeing that this American ecosystem, and has an end to it. And just to touch on what you were saying about the land, you know, our position is still us having territorial land. You know,
What does
that's
that
the
mean?
real black wealth.
What does that mean, territory land?
That meaning we don't pay taxes to the enemy for it. You know what I'm saying? So that
Like
means
like
we got our
Indian
own
reserves can be
borders.
territorial.
We mean we
Oh,
got our
okay.
own borders. Because
But
anything we get, sir, yes, ma'am.
but how does that happen that you don't pay taxes? Because I really want to stick with the how could that okay, I understand that that's a great idea, but how does that happen?
Well, that happens when we first unify and we demand reparation that's attached to them giving us the
Do you
necessary.
really do you really still believe that the reparation is going to happen?
Well, it is not about if we believe it or not. We gotta make it happen. You know what I'm saying? But it's still, as long as we disconnected and divided, then yes, of course it will never happen. But if we could somehow bridge the gap and really get all of our financial people, all of our economic, all of the people that is pushing this, and get them on the one agenda, not us taking no trillions of dollars, you know what I'm saying, but us getting some sustainable. And the only thing that they could pay us back with is some territorial land that now we got borders, we got, you know what I'm saying, we got border patrol. When you come across here, this is the black land, you know, whatever we call it, you know what I'm saying? Well, we got Louisiana, Texas, going all the way to Florida. You know, when we got this type of, that's what's due to us. Then we will have some real black wealth, because everything come out of that land belongs to us, and we not paying taxes on the back end to somebody. Because when we paying taxes to the government, then we just got a piece of paper saying it's ours, but it's really not, because we still paying them to maintain it and to be on it.
All right, Mr. Hill, you had a comment about it?
Oh, my
Thank you.
biggest thing is to his point, there's a huge shift in our economy when it comes to money. When we got removed from the gold standard, that changed everything. So to his point, our dollar is steadily declining. So the dollar is worth now more today than it will be 10 years from now. Okay. I'm a fan of cryptocurrency as well. I purchased a lot. I purchased probably more cryptocurrency this year
Could you
than I have the
explain
past
what
5
it
years.
is? Could you
Sure.
explain?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. So high level blockchain technology is the underlying part of cryptocurrency. Okay. So cryptocurrency, you typically have a long address, and that's like your bank account or your wallet, right? So cryptocurrency is a digital currency. It doesn't move like money. I posted a picture on my social media account the other day, and it showed $1 billion worth of gold, and you see a large pallet of gold that's extremely heavy. Then you see $1 million, and then you see a QR code about the size of a postage stamp, and that's 1 billion of Bitcoin. So the money is more of an idea than it is a thing, and money is spiritual. So when you understand the root of money and how it transfers, you understand that I need to be tapping into something else instead of chasing the fiat dollar, because the same dollar is going to have a different number printed on it. Same kind of paper, right? So the value is what we give it, and it gets devalued every single year. And I'm a person that studies economics. Most advisors in my position, they don't study economics like they probably should. And a lot of them are giving age-old advice because it works. Let me put my money away in this 401k, this IRA. And if I get X amount of rate of return, I'm going to retire and I'm going to have this big mountain of money. But they don't understand losses. They don't understand taxes. They don't understand risk like they should. So I try to educate people on diversity of money, and cryptocurrency being one of them. Bitcoin is probably one of the most famous ones out there. That's the one that has probably the most it has the most upward mobility so far. But then you have a lot of them called altcoins, alternative coins. That means alternative to Bitcoin. So different ones have different things. Like one of them is going to be a payment processor, Ripple. And I'm not going to get too far into a history of cryptocurrency, but it was started back in 2009. Bitcoin used to be 10 cents a coin. Right now, I think it's around 12,800 or so per coin, right? So it's way more powerful than government. I think it was yesterday, PayPal, which is a major player in the world of finance, just announced that they're accepting Bitcoin now. So PayPal having the ability to transfer money all over the country, it's a huge step toward decentralizing and deregulating our money. So our government loves to have access to everything we do. But when Bitcoin came out, it was a way for people to be able to transact business and do what they wanted to and keep the governments out of their pocket. Like they didn't, there's no reason why I can't, if I want to give you $1 million, I should be able to give you $1 million right now. And that's just it. But why do you have to pay taxes on something that I gave you? Or why do I have to go through all of this red tape to move money around? So Bitcoin is one of those things where it's not regulated, which can be a blessing and a curse, but you also, it's not traceable the same way money is. There's no huge paper trail like you would see in normal fiat currency. So it allows you to move a lot faster with what you're trying to do. And just like anything, nefarious activity can happen with any form of currency, but Bitcoin is becoming safer than your regular gold because there's a finite amount. So if you think about how gold was, our dollar had a value because it was backed by a certain amount of gold. That's how we knew what the value was. When we took away the gold standard, the dollar had inflation now. Well, Bitcoin, since there's only so many that has been created and they're only created X number a day, you can understand what the price is. And therefore it doesn't have the same amount of inflation, I guess inflation exposure like the dollar does. Hopefully that kind of gives you a perspective on why it's something you want to be considering.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of Claude Johnson. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's been on the Breakfast Club, and he wrote a book about financial literacy and how basically he really kind of said we were not in a position, we were not, we were considered property, not so much, we had no wealth. And that's one of the things someone mentioned, the Federal Reserve Bank. I learned about 10 years ago that wasn't a government institution.
Right.
It was privately owned. And so now, and just recently we saw that when the stock market went down, the Federal Reserve pushed in millions to make sure, or billions even, to make sure that it stay above ground and not sink.
Trillions.
Yeah, it'll never happen again. The stock market will never happen again. But he said one thing about it, what we need was, we need to build resources, and resources for loan ownership. He says we own nothing, no timber, no gold, no gas, no oil. And it said a lot of that could come from the land. So that was one of the big things. And also he said, one of the big things that we have, he said social integration. And even he mentioned Dr. King went for social integration. And he wanted, of course, us to live with and be a part and treated equal. In that sense, strange sense, after Dr. King, instead of, let's get an example of social integration. And you can disagree with me. He said he was trying to integrate into the bus and get a front seat on the bus, rather than just buying the bus system or creating your own bus system. But we wanted to integrate. And in the end, Dr. King said that he felt that he led his people into a burning building because he didn't teach financial wealth. And once he started asking for that financial wealth, then of course he was killed because he realized that social integration. So the question here is, does social integration help or hurt? And remember, go back to Wall Street and all those communities to help or hurt the Black community financially. I'm talking financially.
Right.
Anybody?
Let's go there.
Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, do you want to go start with this in Supreme?
Oh, well, yes, I can. Well, I would say it definitely hurt us because that before the integration and the civil rights stuff passed, we had Black everything. And when that passed, we stopped going past Miss Barnes' restaurant or her hotel, and we started going to, John Doe, whoever, hotel or restaurant or store. John White. We started going there. So it hurt us on that aspect of it. Now it could have been beneficial, but if we would have had the right mindset, you know what I'm saying? However, the reason why it probably hurt us, because after what they did to us, we shouldn't want to integrate. We should want separation. We should want our own everything. You know, just like why did they come over here from England? Because they was at odds with their fathers and rulers in England. So they're like, no, they went to war and then they came over here and they started America to get from the rule of their oppressors, which were their own fathers, right? So, you know, so really in nature, it was bad. It didn't create more peace. You know, it made us look more subservient, you know what I'm saying? And it took us away to love for one another. So I'm not gonna go to my brother's store since I can go and get the apple pie from the white only apple pies. I can drink from this faucet. I'm gonna drink from this faucet. So under that, you know, we was cool before all of that happened, because we had, then think about it, we even had major league, we had the Negro Baseball League. You know what I'm saying? So just
So
think
they
of
wanted to go over to the white league because that was better.
because that was better, or they was paying more. But if we would have gave it time and built it up, then it would have been good. So in my opinion, you know, my humble opinion, I don't think it was good, because like you said, nobody outside of us ever wanted to integrate with their oppressors. Except us. We the only one that choose to, nah, I want to be with them. You know, all white folks ain't like that. It probably not. But we talking about the policymakers, the ruling class, the bankers, they are like that. You know what I'm saying? And them the ones that we have to get away from.
I totally agree. And I'm not trying to make it a black or white thing. What I'm trying to say is that absolutely, I think the black community, we the ones that the water or the ice is always colder and the water is almost always sweeter in the other community. And you know, even with the black community or inner cities, you know, when you pull out resources and take out there, the streets are always cleaner over there. And it's designed intentionally, because once you remove resources, jobs, which I'm particularly talking about the inner city, even like, you know, just a gas station out, you know, with, and then basically bring the immigrants in, and they're treated more. So I think it's orchestrated, intentional to, and Miss Cassandra, I kind of want to talk to you, because we talked about that a little bit when we talked about poverty mentality, and how that someone couldn't purchase insurance, you know, and it's sad. I see it's in my own family, you know, and it's still so, it's just as real as, and I think it's education that needs to go in. And even you know someone's is dying, this person has been ill, and they still refuse to buy insurance. Is that a poverty mentality? And is that part of what we are, or part of the problem?
It absolutely is a poverty mentality. We as a culture of people, with very few exceptions, we love for someone to give us something. You know, we love for someone to get, that's why they're so comfortable doing the GoFundMe. This is why I'll give you, see, my family has owned pretty much any kind of, we have somebody in my family has owned law firms, doctors, dentists. In my family alone, last count, it was 13 doctors, attorneys, and registered nurses. We own grocery stores. My cousin, who pastors the Community of Faith Church, Bishop James Dixon, owns apartment buildings and strip centers and has built neighborhoods. We have a poverty mentality because we have a slave mentality of being given something. We don't mind spending money. We spend money on indulgences. We don't spend, it's not an issue because a basic life. I do agree that life insurance for the Black community is the #1 means by which we're able to transfer wealth. I personally have over $500,000 right now in life insurance. So I would not be able to earn, I wouldn't have a $500,000 to transfer to my daughter my mother and my sister by any other means at this point, because I don't own a multi-million-dollar operation. So I don't agree that we wouldn't need life insurance if we all came together as a community and the community buries people. I don't agree with that.
I think that's part of the diversity. Another part.
Exactly. It is the number one vehicle that we can transfer significant wealth to our generations, posterity, generational wealth transfer. You can have a job and transfer $200,000 or $300,000 worth of wealth to your family, and you don't have to own a business. You may not ever make 6 figures of income. So that is a very valuable. We're not just talking about burying people. We're talking about generational wealth. We're not talking about, $10,000 to bury somebody. So like my grandparents, when he passed and he transferred a significant amount of money to me, okay, that money not only allowed me to be able to do certain things, but I would not have been able to do otherwise. I do believe now, Mr. Hill said something I didn't think about. I'm gonna put some things in place with my trust regarding when my daughter can access funds should something happen to me, that life insurance money will go into a trust and she can get X number of dollars per year for 10 to 15 years.
Absolutely.
And that keeps her doing what she needs to do and not dependent upon just a handout that's going to be. So that was a great point. And that's what goes to generational wealth building. So I think, yes, we do have to, and there are vehicles in place that we can come together. I think about when you dealt with, did segregation hurt us? Look at what happened with the Black Wall Street situation, where you had every business that served the Black community owned by somebody Black. But what happened when the other culture got angry at a false accusation? They burned everything down.
Not only burned it, it was bombed as well. So that's
yes.
It was more than just a community. It was they actually had planes that dropped bombs in that area.
But when you read up on the Black Wall Street, I went to Wild Trip High School. When you read about Black Wall Street, they had 6 Black families back then owned private jets. They had 6 private airplanes.
And that's why they
2 airports and 6 planes.
That's why they bombed that community, because Black folk, we can build wealth. And we definitely can build wealth. That's a known fact. Even not only in the Wall Street, they had other communities. And even after in Wilmington, North Carolina in 18, they had the congressman right after that. They were very wealthy and they had built their own community. They own their own grocery stores. And this is in the 1800s, like 1880. They buried that history. What they do was the same old thing that happens. The white woman said she was raped, and that it was so we know about Rosewood. We know about those various different communities. It was in Atlanta, also the same type of community. Chicago, we know how esteemed there was. But thank you so much. Let me get to Dr. Hill. I'm sorry, Dr. Odili.
Okay.
I really want your opinion. I apologize. I really want your opinion, the doctor, about poverty. When we're talking about poverty, what is the mentality? And also, do we give our wealth away? Dr. Odili.
So I guess we'll first address about giving the wealth away. So if you approach it from an annual salary standpoint, use an average $55,000 annual salary, and you look at that family's expenses, the lion's share of those expenses are going to go toward rent and utilities. And then beyond that, there's going to be staples, food, clothing, etc. And then debt is going to take some of that, and then you'll have some 10 to 20% left for discretionary spending. So, looking at it from that standpoint, most of our money is going toward rent and utilities, and we know who owns the land and who owns the utility companies. So in general, the average household doesn't have a lot of wealth to accumulate over time. So I agree with the standpoint that life insurance is a good vehicle to pass wealth on to the next generation. Because when you're in a situation where the majority of your money is going outside the Black community because it's going to rent, whether it's mortgage or an apartment, and utilities, then that money is leaving the community. So you could look at it as giving it away because, in the sense it's leaving the community. So from the little bit that's left, it's difficult to build generational wealth if you're only trying to build it up on discretionary spending, on whatever money is left over for eating out or entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. So that is one of the biggest problems that we face, that we don't, we're not at a point where we have banks, we have utility companies, we're loaning, money out to others for their mortgages and their vehicles. So the majority of our money is going to leave the community until we're at a point where we can service all those things ourselves, like Supreme X was saying. Once we reach the Black Wall Street stage where we can service our people's mortgages, sell cars, finance them, et cetera, then we can really keep all the money within the community. But even if you hand everybody $10,000 extra, that money, for the most part, it's going to go to some good or some service, and it's going to leave the community. So we really have some infrastructure building that we need to do. And talking about, I missed the question if you meant poverty mindset or just poverty in general, but whether whether your people came here as immigrants with their suitcases and no wealth, no built up wealth, or you're descended from slavery when there was no wealth, you're starting from zero. So when we look at other cultures that were here and reaping the benefits of slavery, they have the 200-year head start in terms of their generational wealth. They're built up over time. So when you are starting from zero, you're starting from poverty. The way you live, the way you see money, the way you view money, the way you use money as a tool, the way you see wealth, all those things are different. So these are ways, you can call them generational curses that need to be broken. You can call it a lack of education, and we just need to work on educating better ways of seeing money as a vehicle or tools to improve generational wealth, improve our outcome as a people.
I totally agree with how we see wealth, how we see money, the way we spend money. And some of us spend money, as far as, I do think we have a poverty mentality. I think we spend money, we put money into the salons, particularly the nail shops. I understand that you want your nails done. And then we go into those nail salons and they mistreat us. So, it's almost like we're still humbling and want that social integration and give them our money and we just can't. We have to do better. One thing I wanted to say about insurance that I've learned, and this is from purchasing my own, that, you can pull from that insurance. So we forgot about that.
If you have the right kind.
True. Absolutely. So absolutely. So true. And that's one of the things that we have to educate. If we're insurance, we have to educate them with the right kind, that insurance policy, if you have a 300, 500,000, that money can be pulled after a certain amount of time. So that is financial, and it could be invested in different ways. So that's one thing.
Right.
One of the things how do we begin? Let's start from this point. One thing about it is that we're not unified. We're not together. And it starts one brick at a time. One brick at a time. One thing that they said that why Black folks could never build, have their own like they did, but we've had it. And it was there. It was in Atlanta, North Carolina, Salem, North Carolina. They had their own. That was another one of these. They had their own cab companies, they had all of that wealth. How do we get to the point where we can build a community, and a sharing wealth and begin ownership and owning our business and helping each other? How do we get to that point? How do we build one brick at a time? How do we trust each other to build? Where do we start? Where do we start from? Anybody?
Oh, wait.
Well,
Yeah.
Uh,
I think we're all jumping
say,
in. I think we have to start local.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to build our own small
Yeah.
networks, families, and close friends where we already have trust built up. So
Mhm.
that we, once you have the trust, then you can move forward. It's difficult to
Right.
do business without trust. But growth has to happen, as business improves or these things improve, but the trust has to be part of the foundation.
Okay. And we have a
Yeah.
habit, Black folks have a habit of not trusting. And I know it always starts at home first. We take care of home first. But how do we get to the point? I guess I'm trying to direct that we can get investment. We saw in Atlanta where a group of Black folks got together and they bought 100 acres. We saw here in Houston and in Third Ward, a group of Black investors. I don't know if they were family members. They bought the whole block. How do we get there? We all educated people. How do we get to this point? And it may be as little as 5,000, 10,000. How do we build, even establish some type of community or work together and build wealth?
So yeah, look, I would say one of the first things you want to do, to Doctor's point, is start locally, right? Who do I know who has what I want in terms of knowledge, right? Not the handout, but it's the knowledge. So this year, I've had more of my friends who've reached out to me, said, "Hey, Jeff, I've been learning about this infinite banking, and I know you do that. Can you help me?" And infinite banking is where you utilize life insurance to build cash value, and you can take money out within the first 30 days. So it's not just about having life insurance that produces cash. It has to be designed a certain way, right? So my friends are coming to me about that particular skill set, right? But what I'm doing is I have a friend who has recently got into real estate. First, he was just a realtor. Now he's a realtor and an investor. And I see how he's buying up the block. So we're going to have lunch this week because, hey, listen, I see you moving. I got lazy money sitting around. Let's talk about how we can do some partnerships on some real estate, right? So not only that, I do a little bit with crypto. So we're bringing people into the folds. But again, to Dr. Otis' point, is I start locally, right? But then I also have networks of people throughout the country where I have different clients there, and I'm asking them, hey, what are you guys doing out there, right? Because when I saw the Black Wall Street, I was the only Black agent in the state of Arkansas with a major life insurance company for a year and a half before I recruited the next guy in. The only Black in the entire state of Arkansas, which was crazy. Not just, at least with the company that I was with. So I didn't have anybody that looked like me. So
it's crazy because there's education in that. As far as insurance,
well, it is. Oh, there's a lot. So that's a lot about what I do now. And literally the testimonials I've had from clients when we designed the infinite banking policy to where now they got better cash flow. They have more discipline now because they see how this financial tool fits within their household. They're not making a lot of decisions without me. They're typically calling, hey, listen, I want to make this purchase. What do I need to do? So it starts by showing them how this stuff works. And again, in terms of the whole segregation, there are certain cues that we could take from our counterparts because they are better with transferring wealth. A dollar stays in the Black community 6 hours before it's circulated out. It's like 15 in the white community, 17 days in the Jewish, 15 in the white, and 6 hours in our own community. When Black Wall Street was a thing, it was 36 to 100 times it was circulated in our community before it left. We don't have that anymore because it's an overhaul of the way we do everything. So it's not just one part. And I've had this conversation with my frat brothers. Okay, one person, you're in law. I need you to be building more Black people around the education of law and how that works. Okay, you're in medicine. Start talking to more of us about how good it is to be in medicine. I'm in finance. The other person is doing credit. So as we look at these bright minds and we're reaching out to people trying to educate them, now all of a sudden we're telling them, here's what we're doing as a group. Now I need you to take the same knowledge to some of these other people that you're associating with and spread that same type of knowledge. And by just law of numbers, it's going to start to populate out. But I think where people is, where we are right now, we have to understand it's not, some of the stuff we're doing, we're not going to realize it in our generation. And that's the hardest part for most people. So I look at it like this. If you look at any struggle that we've ever been against, people had to die before we really got to see the fruits of their labor. For us to get on the same financial page, people are going to die for us to get there. But for me, the number one tool I use is life insurance. So if I educate people and they see what I've done with my trust, they see what I've done with my assets, as it's passed on, they're going to see the fruits of that labor. Now, I do stuff that I get to enjoy now, but I also have a lot of stuff that I've transferred to the future. I've written over $5.5 million with life insurance on myself. I can't take it with me, right? I have some that I can utilize now, infinite banking, and I got some that I transfer and I don't ever want to touch because I know it's nowhere near for me, right? So it's about understanding some of the tools that we can use to transfer wealth and putting your systems in place and teaching other people how you do it. Because some people are hungry and they do want to listen. And some people, they just won't for whatever reason. I don't care how free the information is, they don't have enough time to do it. So it's about changing that mindset of saying, how long do you want to be in this situation?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Mr. Supreme,
Yes,
so how
I
financial, how do we build business ownerships and come together as a community? And what's the first step?
the first step I feel like is we have to have the proper knowledge of self first, right?
Definitely.
So as long as we don't see each other as brother, sister, then it's going to be the distrust factor will still be there. The Willie Lynch theory will still be there. It's really not a theory. The Willie Lynch plan won't be there. So that has to get eradicated first. We have to love each other and knowing that, you know, once we are trying to come together, especially on the business tip, that whatever's wrong with my brother business, I won't criticize it. You know what I'm saying? I won't give it one criticism like what we do. Oh, I go to this black restaurant, they shot one nugget, you know, one fry, you know. I ain't never shopping there, you know, it was long, it took a little longer. And you know, we just get to criticizing. And then, you know, sometimes we even go further than that when we trying to stick to the buy black, you know, we saying that, oh, y'all getting the product from the white man. Well, everything we get from the white man. You know what I'm saying? So anybody that's black, that whatever kind of product, if the brother benefit from whatever his business is, that's a black business. You know, we got to understand the root of all of this first. And I wanted to show too that the Nation of Islam research team put out a book in 2010 titled The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, Volume 2, How Jews Gain Control of the Black American Economy. Now, this book is so powerful because it will unlock what was really did to us while we even having these discussions. Because the Jewish community is not having these discussions, right? But they control everything, or they did control everything. Now the Arabs got it. Now the Indians got it. Now the foreign Africans.
Everybody but the black folk.
Everybody except us. You know what I'm saying? But it's all detailed in here on how they set it up. And this book is so powerful. Amazon took it off the shelf. You can't go to Amazon and get it. You know, that's the power.
Just going there to get it.
You can't go to Amazon and you got to come get it through us. But it was, at one point in time, it was on Amazon. You know, it cost $20 and this is part 2. It's a 3-part series to it. You know, this is part 2, which is the most critical part that I think, because it tells how the Zionists, how the Jews came over here and set up the banking system, set up the stores, how they was manipulating Hollywood, how they set up you know, it just got so much of wealth of stuff. The political system, they set up the Jim Crow laws, you know, but we looking at the Gentile. No, it been the Zionists the whole time. Because remember, we have an identity theft going on, you know what I'm saying, that they have robbed us for who we really are and who we really are in history. And I think that once we could get that understanding, that base understanding first, You know what I'm saying? Then we could close this gap because we got to see what was done to us first. You know, ma'am.
They're gonna always try to put their foot on the black person.
Yes,
There,
ma'am.
and that's orchestrated even from slavery to keep the black man and woman down to this lowest, to keep them away. You know, I was thinking, I was wish that movement back in Philadelphia when they bombed the whole block. You know, because these black folks have said, "Hey, this is our property," so they brought tanks in and blew it up. I mean, if anything, and you look at how they just dismantled the Black Panther Party. And I'm reading so much now about Fred Hampton. I'm like, this guy was amazing. But I want to thank you so much for sharing, Ms. Supreme. I want to talk to Miss Cassandra about as far as ownership. And we know that this is so important. I want to talk to one thing about this. I'm an RVer. My husband and I have a motorhome. So we have our like RV friends that we go to the games. And the reason why I wanted to tell you that is because we went to this particular RV resort. It was in El Campo, and they have others in Louisiana. But this RV resort, it was I believe it was a Klan rally, and this is really a beautiful RV. It has this swim up bar, but they have one of these flags under United States flag. It would not "Don't tread on me" flag, but with the gun, "Come and take me." So I was really, and I felt uneasy. You know, I had my grandchildren with that. I believe they had investors that came together and purchased that RV park, but the arrogance of them, all the Trump flags, and well, you see Trump flags, but it was an arrogance that it was almost like you didn't belong. And the owners had that flag, like "Come take me" flag. That's a militia flag. So I told my husband I will not, and I mean I will not go back there and give them one more dollar of mine. Because first of all, I asked my daughter, "How'd you feel?" She says, "I wasn't about, we've been tons RV, but it was, uh, the reason I mentioned that is that we put our monies in the systems, and sometimes they tell us that we don't want you. And that, my quickest I do is remove my economic funds. Dr. King said when they asked him how did he defeat the Montgomery bus boycott, he said we simply removed our economic funds.
Mhm.
We just stopped. But not, then the bus went bankrupt. And I think it was, what was it, 30 cents to ride the bus in
Oh,
1955?
I don't know how much it was, but
About $10 now.
it probably is. But we just as a community have to, it's two ways. I mean, we have to provide a service that is top notch. That's the first thing. We have to provide a service that is excellent. You know, we have to show up. I mean, even when I was in nursing school, I went to Howard University and I graduated from Prairie View's College of Nursing. So I had both experiences, and we always had to go be 3 times as good to get half as far. So I'm acclimated to that. And so it's unfortunate, but we have to be cognizant of what our businesses produce and how we deliver and make sure that we're delivering an excellent product. You know, it's never gonna be equal. You know, to say that they will view us the same, it's just not gonna happen. Not in this country. And so we can't get, yeah, we can't get caught up on things that we can't change. You know, we can't get caught up on whether or not we're going to get reparations. You know, I listened to a debate that the Black farmers were having. You know, the average Black farmer's income is only like $40-something thousand a year, as opposed to the white farmers that may make over $100,000 a year in income. So we can't get caught up on stuff that we can't really change. All we can do is be the best at what we can do, prepare ourselves, educate ourselves. I hold so many certifications until it's just ridiculous, because I don't know what I'm gonna have to do to generate some money. I have to be better educated, know more, understand more, produce more than the average white nurse in a corporate environment. That's just the reality. We're not going to be viewed as equal. We're not going to ever be viewed as equal, but we have to bring our game to the table. We have to be prepared to the highest degree possible. And, you know, we have to just trust God with the rest, but we have to prepare ourselves. That's just the bottom line. And we have to stop believing the myth of thinking that we're going to get something. That's okay. And thinking we're going to get something for nothing. We're not. You know, we it's not about being a ball player and marrying a ball player and all of this, being a rap star, whatever this generation think it's about. It's not about that. It's about education. It's about knowledge. It's about resources, talking to people, asking questions. And, you know, we can only try to influence them and do the best that we can. You know, that's all we can do as a people.
Well, I think that was an excellent statement and how it ended. And this is, we're at the end. It's 7:10. We kind of went over 10 minutes. I hope that's okay with you, Baruti. Guys, I totally enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for sharing. One thing about it, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of knowledge. It's a lot of, and even you talked to Miss Cassandra about Wall Street. You made it seem so easy and effortless, but that's not true for me, in particular, a person like me. Uh, your knowledge, you can educate and give that knowledge and show, like you said, even somebody, maybe they really don't want to dwell into your business and ask you about that, but some people get very guarded. And so we have to know as
Well, let me just really quick. I actually invite them to do that on my page. I tell them to inbox me. I'll show you how to set up your account. It's no different than setting up a bank account. You just literally transfer from your funds from your bank account, just like you're buying a shirt online. It's literally no different. So I invite them to do that. But if I post that I'm gonna be sowing money into people, I'll have 100 people send me their Cash App. You know, I'm like, you know, God, I literally sold over $10,000 into probably about 60 or 70 people for Thanksgiving last year and Christmas to bless people. The minimum I gave was $50 up to $500. I also bought 8 laptops to bless students with. And literally, I couldn't keep up. And then I told them, I have to know you personally to sow into your life. Just don't be recruiting people and all of that. And even though I said that, everybody and their mama sent me their Cash App. But when I post on my page, I will help you create, you know, show you how I did mine, because I'm not an advisor. I will show you how I set up my account. I don't get hardly anybody doing that. But if I say, just what, a month ago, I said, okay, I'm going to sow into, I'll give them a time frame, you know, for the next two hours. You have to, we'll say 5:00 p.m. If you have a significant need, send me that need, and then I'll see what God would tell me to do to bless you. Everybody and their mama would inbox me for that. You know, so no, I don't have sympathy for it, because when I ask, you know, somebody, so I can show you how to do it yourself. Now you need your medication, you know, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna help you, or whatever the case. Somebody was getting evicted from their home or whatever. I'm gonna help you do that if I know you. I do have to absolutely know you to do it. I blessed 5 people with 5 families with $35,000 right at the start of COVID. 2 families with $10,000 3 families with 5,000. So I don't have a problem giving and blessing people, period. But if you're not willing to do something for yourself, I have a problem with that. You know, even the students that I buy laptops for, you have to be willing to do some things for yourself.
Work hard. You know what we'll talk about as far as tithing and financial wealth. You know, I've known some people that's given as much as 20,000, and I don't know if anybody wanted to 20,000 a year to the church. And some
Well,
people,
I've done it, but tithing is the
Mhm.
reason why I believe God has blessed me so significantly. But that's
Big
for
facts.
part 2. That's for part 2. That's the next
yeah,
conversation.
that's
We'll do that one the next time.
Thank you so much again. Can you we're getting ready to close, and can you tell us how you can be reached, or just anything you want to share at the end? You don't really have to give us just Miss Cassandra, since you're here.
Well, my Facebook page, I'm getting ready to launch my mental health management and wellness center, Cassandra Barnes, the Victoria Barnes Mental Health and Wellness Center. If you need anything related to that, please reach out. I would be happy to bless you and help you any kind of way that I can.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed you. Thank you.
Thank you. I enjoy being here.
Mr. Supreme.
Well, you can find me. We on YouTube, Forward Money, Instagram, Forward Money Network, Facebook, Forward Money Network, and we also on Twitter, Forward Money as well. One of my personal pages, Facebook just deleted it without an explanation, but I did have a business page. I did have some backup, right? Because that's their platform. They can do what they want to do. So they didn't even tell me why. So I'm trying to see if they're gonna let it back, but it's been deleted, not deactivated or put me in jail. It's just totally deleted.
Oh my.
You can't
Yeah, I
even
get it.
pull it
Yeah.
up. You can't even, if Mr. Alexander can bear witness, because that's when he had to go to the business page to even put the reminder on me to be here and the time for the night. But like I said, we already had all that prepared for him, because we knowing they coming. And I would just like to say thank you for having me. Like you said, it was a wealth of information on here. I enjoyed with everybody, every insight that we had. You know, is it just about us coming together, dialogue like that? So I appreciate it. Anytime y'all need me or whatever, I will make myself available, because I'm a networker, and I don't, you know, I haven't had a job. January, I've been free for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? I just retired my wife back in February the 1st. So nobody in our household, we are doing, you know, the Black wealth building thing. We're doing that, teaching our children about these sciences that we never was taught. And I just want to add one thing before we go, that we have to look at, can we do something that's outside of America's thinking, as far as on their eco and what wealth is? Can we do something outside of that? And that's what Mr. Hill, you know,
Like
when we talk, ma'am.
Like what?
Like what he talking about, like cryptocurrency, like looking at other avenues to
Yeah.
really circumvent around the dollar, you know what I'm saying, and not be so much tied to the dollar. Like that's our only hope, you know what I'm saying? That's our only hope. So as long as we are tied
Almighty dollar.
and it got faith in the dollar, okay, when it tanks, then what do we have? But until we start using the dollars to get outside of that, looking for other systems, looking for other opportunities that come from outside of America, you know what I'm saying? Then we could probably survive, because it's about survival now. It's not really planning for the future. We're gonna have to survive. You know what I'm
Well, we
saying?
have to plan for the future for our children. We have to leave wealth for our children.
No, I'm not. I mean, I don't mean it like that. I'm saying, but it's still, we gotta survive today, tomorrow. All of that's planning for the future. You follow what I'm saying? But we have to be thinking about how we got to think about what are we gonna do if this happened or when it happens. You know what I'm saying? That's planning for the future and planning for survival too. So survival is definitely, you know, up there with what we need, because we are definitely under attack, and we are being attacked on all ends. You know what I'm saying? We're being attacked on all ends.
I appreciate you so much. I enjoyed getting the information from you as well. Thank you so much. And
Yes,
Dr. Dooley.
Yes. So I can be found at apexurgentclinic.com. That's the clinic website, co-owner and medical director. I have several books. A few of them are behind me on the shelf. They're all available on Amazon.com, digital and paperback. On Instagram, Dr. O. Definitely answer all my messages. I think that we should be focusing on thriving within the system as much as we focus on trying to figure out how to get out of the system. So a lot of what I write about is focused on that. I definitely appreciated the discussion tonight, gentlemen. It was very thought-provoking and interesting, and I look forward to the next one.
Thank you. So the urgent is an urgent clinic?
Yep.
Oh, and it's owned by you?
Yeah, I have a partner. We're both African American, so it's 100% minority-owned
Great.
business.
Okay, where is it? What part of town?
So we have two locations. Our Katy location is North Fry in Westfield, New York. Our Richmond location is Highway 99 and Harlem Road, and near the Aliana neighborhood of
Okay,
Richmond,
so
Texas.
I'm close to Katy. I'm in Tombo, but definitely because the one in Tombo, I definitely want to. I'm for. It's not so much a difference between black and white, but I'm for black, and that means just we have to work together to build. So definitely, thank you so much. I learned so much, and I saw a doctor. I've seen other black doctors, but wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And Mr. Hill, thank you. Can you close out for us?
Yes, ma'am. So Jeff Hill, you can find me if you search for the Hill Financial Group on Facebook, you will find me there and also on YouTube. I'm starting to put more content on YouTube. Instagram is HFG Inc., which stands for Hill Financial Group Incorporated, top 100 in finance in 2019, and top 50 in most trusted businesses for 2020. This was great for me today. I like hearing the diversity of conversations, the different backgrounds where people come from. And, I would just say, I definitely would agree with what Cassandra said. I think so many people don't want to spend the time and put the time in to learn. And that's so disheartening because I understand that you might be in a situation where you need money quick, but if you plan on still living another 10, 15, 20, 30 years or whatever, it's worth it to go ahead and put the time in because now you have knowledge that you can probably undo years and generations of stuff that you did not do right the first time, right? But most people won't get outside of their comfort zone to learn. They'll immediately shut it down and say, well, I don't understand that stuff. Okay. Yeah. One of the things I like to say is have a simple mind hack and start asking yourself a different question. How can I understand this? Or just tell yourself, okay, this is easy. And you'd be surprised at how your brain starts to develop the capacity to handle more than what you thought by telling yourself that you can get this, right? It's kind of like that old, the little engine that could. He kept telling himself he could and he did, right? So it works the same way with raising your financial IQ. I recommend going to richdad.com/classic. richdad.com/classic and register and play the game cash flow. Okay, start because it's going to help you raise your financial IQ. It's going to help you understand the difference between assets and liabilities. And it's going to teach you how to get out of the rat race. So shout out to Supreme for firing corporate America. I did that over 11 years ago, and it has been one of the greatest decisions that I've ever done to fire corporate America and become independently wealthy in terms of being able to go out and create. It is more to it. And I think more people are starting to get there, but it's going to take a little time. So be patient, audience, with your learning and get some mentors. Pay the mentors. Pay them. It's worth it. Trust me when I tell you, pay them and stop making some of the mistakes you don't have to. Just pay for a mentor to help guide you, and that money will come back 10 times faster. Trust me.
Okay. Thank you guys again. And that's the end of the show. And I'd love to get back together soon and talk about more. Really, the whole aspect will be different. Actually, how do we start building wealth? It's not so much how do we build, where do we go from here? And we have to probably be the leaders, the forefronts, the one, we got people here with businesses. I mean, at least, and well, 3, well, 4, all of you. My goodness, the knowledge and the information here is astounding. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Carl Baruti, you want to end it?
All right, thank you, everybody. It was a great show. One of the best shows we've had. This is our 61st episode. And I thank everybody. And Pam, you want to send us out? This is the Sourceseeker Hour 61st episode. Pam, you want to end it for us?
Yeah, the only thing I want to say, one thing I didn't tell you that in addition to being a wife, a mother, I am a retired HPD sergeant, so and a teacher, which I absolutely love. So to get this, and y'all have started businesses for a person like me, and I call that person the people that you probably need to communicate with and educate more are the teachers, the firemen, the policemen, because you can really pull from them. We need that education in that community, because I definitely think it could be built. So don't always think it's the people that's down. And we have bad poverty. I mean, not, that the mentality of putting the money flow can be wrong. And, as far as eating out too much or stuff like that.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for sharing, and have a great night.
Goodbye. Have a great